ever pictured yourself, I don't know, maybe like at one of those massive industry trade shows,
Hmm.
trying to like close a multi-million-dollar deal?
Okay, yeah.
But, and here's the kicker, the deal's for get this, a machine that spins cotton into yarn.
Right.
Probably not, right?
No, not really my world.
But that's like the everyday world for a wholesale merchant in textile industry machinery. And buckle up, because today we're diving deep, deep, deep into this surprisingly interesting career path, right?
Yeah. And you know what's really cool about this one? I think a lot of people they don't realize like just how important the textile industry is to basically everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're not just talking about clothes here, right?
Yeah.
It's furniture, medical supplies, even like the tech stuff that we're using right now to record this. It all relies on textiles in some way, you know?
Right. And somebody's got to connect those dots. Somebody's got to connect the companies building this massive, and I mean massive specialized machinery, with the companies using it to actually make all that stuff, right?
Exactly. That's where our merchant investigator steps in. And well, today we're going to use some insights from RoleCatcher, you know, that career advice website you shared with me.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They're like a treasure trove of career advice.
Totally. And I think you've got some screenshots there.
I do. I've got them right here.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've got it all. Guides, interview tips, you name it. And they really get into the nitty-gritty of this wholesale merchant role. You know, they highlight how it's so much more than just your average sales job.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit, right? Because we're not exactly talking about like your grandma's sewing machine here. When we say textile industry machinery, what are we actually talking about?
Think big, like really big. We're talking about looms that are the size of a football field, industrial knitting machines that crank out like miles of fabric, the heavy hitters of the textile world.
Wow. Okay, so a wholesale merchant in textile industry machinery, they're like the ultimate deal maker in this massive, and I mean global industry, right? What does a typical day even look like for someone in this kind of role?
So picture this. One day you're in the office, right, analyzing market trends. Maybe there's like a sudden surge in demand for, I don't know, sustainable bamboo fabrics. And then the next day, boom, you're on a plane.
What?
Jet setting off to some huge industry trade show, ready to negotiate a contract for some cutting-edge weaving machine. It's pretty dynamic.
See, that's what I'm talking about, right? Jet setting, trade shows, like always being on top of the latest, textile tech. Sounds pretty glamorous, but RoleCatcher also mentions some, how do I put this, some less glamorous parts of the job, too.
Yeah, for sure. It's not all, sunshine and high thread count. Egyptian cotton sheets. They definitely highlighted the long hours.
Right.
The constant pressure to like stay ahead of the competition and all that.
It's a high-stakes world, that's for sure. But they did mention the high earning potential, too, so... I mean, I guess that's got to be a pretty good motivator.
Oh, absolutely. That kind of compensation, it doesn't just land in your lap, Remember those key skills they outlined?
Yeah.
59% active listening, 57% negotiation. Those are critical in a role like this.
So it's not just about being like a smooth talker, is it?
No, not at all.
It's about really understanding what a client needs.
Exactly.
And then like navigating all those complex deals to deliver.
You're dealing with million-dollar machinery here,
Yeah.
international contracts, technical specs. I mean, this stuff would make your head spin.
Yeah.
No. You got to be sharp, you got to be strategic, and a master communicator on top of it all.
And speaking of like, climbing that career ladder, RoleCatcher, they outlined a few distinct stages, right?
It did.
Entry level, junior, senior. What really stood out to me, though, was that formal education, it's not like the be-all and end-all here.
Interesting.
Experience seems to be king.
Yeah, it's true. You can't just like read a textbook and suddenly you're a wholesale merchant,
Yeah.
It takes real-world experience.
Yeah.
Building those relationships, understanding how the machinery works, how the market moves, it's hands-on.
So you're like constantly learning, constantly evolving, which I bet keeps things interesting, right?
For sure.
What really stood out to me was how much they emphasized integrity.
It's true, right? I mean, with these crazy high-stakes deals, there's like zero room for anyone trying to pull a fast one.
Exactly. Your reputation is everything.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher really emphasized that, that this entire industry, it runs on trust.
Right.
Long-term relationships. You can't cut corners. You can't mess around with contracts. It's got to be all about honesty, transparency, all that good stuff.
It really is pretty amazing when you think about it,
Yeah.
right? How this one role, this one job, it touches on so many different parts of like the whole business world. You know what I mean?
Wow. From like market analysis to logistics, global logistics
Yeah.
to the art of the deal. And here's the thing. These skills that we're talking about, they go way beyond just textile machinery.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, RoleCatcher, they listed out a bunch of other job titles where these skills would be like super valuable,
Like what?
sales manager, procurement specialist,
Yeah.
even like international trade expert. It just goes to show you that you never know where these kinds of skills might take you.
So even if you're listening to this right now and you're like, okay, selling industrial size sewing machines, not exactly my dream job, this deep dive, I think it still gives you some really interesting stuff to think about.
For sure, for sure. And here's one more thing to kind of chew on, right?
Right?
RoleCatcher mentioned how AI is becoming, well, a bigger and bigger part of just about everything, right?
Yeah.
Could we see a future, and this is this kind of wild thought, but could we see a future where a wholesale merchant, they're actually negotiating a contract with a machine instead of another person?
Okay, now that's a whole other deep dive waiting to happen. But hey, we're out of time for today.
Yeah,
Thanks for the food for thought.
absolutely.
So for everyone listening, if you're looking for a glimpse into a high stakes and honestly surprisingly global industry, I think this has been a really awesome peek behind the curtain. We've explored the world of a wholesale merchant in textile industry machinery. We've talked about the skills that they need to succeed, and we even got a little philosophical thinking about the future of their negotiations.
It's a fascinating field, no doubt.
Yeah.
Blending that technical know-how with those sharp business skills and of course that constant drive to stay ahead of the game.
It's true, it's true. Who knows? Maybe, just maybe, we've inspired a future titan of the textile trade.
Maybe so.